Dear students, welcome to EPG. I am Tanya Thomas from Srimati VHT Central Institute of Home Science. Today we will be doing counseling setup. Professional counseling takes place in a range of settings such as agencies, hospitals, schools, universities, organizations, etc. Counseling can be effective when counselor and client wander around the garden, sit in the garden, or walk through the beach. But for a practitioner working in an organization, the counseling takes place in a room. Counseling setup or room setup can bring about a difference in the way the client and the counselor works towards bringing a solution to the problem. The aesthetics in the counseling room can be overlooked by many, but it is an aspect which persuades the client and the counselor to move forward in the counseling process. The counselor is often required to sit in the same place for protracted hours, listening to the problems, worries, and empathetically responding to the issues that concerns the client. Counselors and the client may arrive at the state of distress which might influence the counseling process and the outcomes of the same. The overall environment may be significant in helping the counselor and the client feel more at ease. Counseling room setup can be tailored according to the client's age group or the age group for which the counselor is catering to. The main age group for which counseling can be rendered are senior citizens, adults, teenagers, and children. Counseling room setup is a regular and dependable backdrop for the process of counseling, guidance, and therapy to take place. The counseling room is an empty box and the counselor should prepare the empty box to fit the counseling process. Some of the important things to be noted for preparing the counseling room are soundproofing the room. Counseling is a process where an individual expresses his or her personal problems and the counselor counsels the individual to cope with the problems. During this process, the clients might heighten their emotions. So the counseling room that the client is in should be soundproof. This can help the counselor and the client to be in focus with the counseling process. There will be maximum level of self-disclosure between the client and the counselor, as there will not be any hindrance during the session. The second one is seating arrangement. Seating is the position of the chairs. Chairs can be placed in a little away from the counselor's chair because in the beginning, when the therapeutic alliance has not been established, the client and the counselor's seats should be arranged little far, keeping in mind the private space of the client. This can be done for the client to understand that the counselor is not intruding the client's space. Once the relationship or rapport is set, the counselor can change the seating arrangement considering the client's interest. If the clients are given control over the furniture in the counseling room, for example, movable chairs, clients experiences high sense of comfort, autonomy, and equality. Personally, and Hexaco in 2001. Counseling room should have 2 or more chairs with arms in, and it should be placed too close to each other. It should be placed in an angle so that the counselor and the client can be seated next to each other but not too close. Seating can also address the comfort level of the chairs used for both counselors and the clients. Counseling process involves spending a lot of time sitting on the chairs, so the chairs used should ergonomically suit the client and the counselor. The third point is lighting. Every individual is influenced and drawn towards ventilated and airy rooms. For counseling, ventilated rooms are required because the clients come with a lot of negative emotions and it is necessary for the room to be positive for them. The counseling room should be ventilated and airy because it can promote positive vibes in the individual. Other aspects to be considered for lighting the counseling room are placing lamps to soften the harsh light so that individuals' facial expressions, gestures, and emotions can be noted by the counselor. Color. The colors used in the counseling room can bring about a change in the emotions of the counselor. Colors are associated with positive and negative emotions in an individual. Children and adults associated with light colors, and this brings a positive emotion in them, whereas dark colors are associated with negative emotions. Tidiness. Tidiness is not only a concept required for counseling room but also important for all the offices, because the tidiness of the room can impact the client's behavior. If the counseling room has a lot of accessories, the room should be maintained regularly. Maintenance include dusting, cleaning displays, organizing and changing. Plants need regular cleaning to avoid dust, insects, pests, etc. If the accessories are not changed, the client might get bored of the same accessories and may develop disinterest in the counseling process. Organizing the space is vital as it adds on to the tidiness of the room. If the room are cluttered, poorly ventilated, it could lead to distraction in the clients. Other requirements in a counseling room are a whiteboard or a flip chart. Counselors will discuss few complex issues with the client, and this will need visual representation of the same. So the counselors can use a flip chart or a whiteboard to explain or discuss the same with the client. Almost all the sessions with the client will require a visual representation. For instance, listing the colleges, pros and cons of a decision taken by the client, modes of communication, family tree, etc. These can also be used as a reference point where counselors can use the same for the rest of the session. The flip chart can be used to rewind the counseling at the end of the process. The next one is bookshelves. Bookshelves can be kept in the counseling room as well as in the waiting room for the clients to utilize it. A counseling room can have one or more bookshelves, and these can emphasize on few particular books such as magazines, children's books, journals, publications, etc. Next one is file cabinets. In terms of record keeping, file cabinets are required. File cabinets are helpful in keeping the record of the clients tactfully. When counselors work with children and teenagers, it is necessary for them to keep a record of written parental permission, records, data collected during the counseling session. For all these, file cabinets are useful, so for further references, the same data can be used. File cabinets should be situated in a place where it can be accessed only by the counselor and not by others. Coffee table or side tables. Coffee or side tables are to be placed adjacent to the chairs where the counselor and the client are seated. A box of tissue should be readily available for the clients. This is because clients who may cry during the session can use the tissue. Water or coffee should also be kept on the side table for the client because it might help them during the counseling process. Natural elements. Natural elements such as plants, pebbles, pines, shells, rocks, woods, water can be added into the environment to enhance the visual appearance. Such elements or accessories can visually soothe and stimulate the environment. Natural environment symbolizes new beginning, growth, rejuvenation, and helps in healing process. Natural elements can also improve the quality of the environment by improving the air, temperature and humidity levels in the room. Displaying artwork. Apart from the natural elements, the important aspect to be considered while improving the quality of the room is to include displaying artworks on the wall. Artwork can bring positive changes in the client and can comfort them during the time of distress. Professional walls. Displaying the certificates on the wall is a way of making the walls look professional. This can give tremendous authority and dignity for the counselor. Clients who are counseled will understand that they are speaking to a trained professional and will not disbelieve their expertise. Counseling room setup can be customized according to the age group. For instance, counseling room for children should be tailored accordingly to their needs and interests. For children, counseling children is easier and effective, but to work with children, the counseling room should be adapted to fit to the needs of the child. For counselors who exclusively work with children should work in a room which is specifically designed for the purpose. Children can be counseled in various places or organizations like hospitals, schools, government offices, where counseling room does not have specific facilities for children. But few requirements to work with children are: children counseling room should be soundproof so the external noises do not distract the child. This also helps in building trust, as the child understands that things shared with counselors remain with the counselors and not being overheard by others. It is essential for the rooms to be attractive, comfortable and unique from the other rooms, because children will need space for active and constructive play. This will help the child ease out from the stress that the child is facing. Children's counseling room should include wet area for messy play, clay paints, drawing corner, reading corner, sink, etc. These facilities should be given so that the child can feel comfortable in the space and can do things according to his interest. Counseling room should also include toys and materials that children can use during the sessions. The room should be clutter free so that child gets adjusted to the new room and do not feel restricted in the room. Counseling room should also consider the flooring. Vinyl flooring for the messy corner, and the remaining counseling room should be carpeted so children can use the floor when required. One-way mirror can be used for many purposes, like counselor can use that to observe children when children are engaged in counseling room. Counselors can also observe the parents during the family interaction session. Counselor can directly supervise child without any assistance. Another important tool for counseling room is video camera, which this can facilitate in the counseling process. Parents can use the recorded videotaped interactions for many purposes, such as changing their parenting styles, recognizing the positive and negatives of their parenting, changing their behaviors, etc. Counselors can use the recordings for improving their counseling skills, can rate a particular counseling strategy. Children can learn and practice new behaviors. For example, children can role play certain behaviors, and using the video recording can rate their behavior. For senior citizens have to cope with many changes in their life. The three main adjustments that senior citizens have to do are adjustment to retirement, adjustment to death of the spouse, adjustment to lower wage. Counseling should be given to individuals for these changes and adjustments. For senior citizens, counseling room should be ventilated, airy, and it should be a welcoming space so that the individuals do not feel left out or lonely. Senior citizens counseling room should have few recreational materials, because when they are exhausted with their emotional problems, they can rejuvenate using these materials. For example, books, easels, paints, etc. can be placed. Senior citizens can feel vulnerable in this present day, and it is necessary to provide to them with the security they require. Counselor can provide security by assisting them in their aging process, listening to their problems. A welcoming and soothing room can provide senior citizens with security and safety that they require. A large space can be divided into smaller pods, and it can include different materials of their interest, such as activity table, library, art and craft, etc. Indoor and outdoor spaces can be blended together for an effective counseling process. Counselor and senior citizens can take a walk to the outer space or sit on the bench in the outdoor space. This can improve the quality of counseling process. For group counseling. For group counseling, the counseling room setup is different to the individual counseling room set. In groups counseling, many individuals with the same problem approach the counseling, like alcohol addiction, drug addiction, parent with parenting problems, teenager with behavioral problems, etc. In this counseling method, the counselor should change or adapt the counseling room according to the needs of the client. Few tips to be considered for group counseling are: the first one, group counseling is basically for a group of individuals. So the counseling room must be adapted for group of individuals. The chair arranged in a counseling room should be arranged in a C-shape or a U-shape manner. This is because the individuals in the group learn different strategies and coping techniques from another group member. In group counseling, individuals learn from others. The color used in the counseling room should be light so that the individuals in the group would relate to the counseling room. This brings about a positive change in the group members' behavior. Third one is, a flip chart can be placed in the corner of the room as it can be used to jot down different aims of the group. For the particular week, assessments can be made with the flip chart. The fourth point is, a center table can be placed or few side tables can be placed because the counselors can place a few necessary things on the table for the individuals to use. Few motivational frames can be put on the walls of the room so that the individuals are motivated and can follow that in their lives. Natural elements can be placed either on the table or at the corners of the room so that the individuals feel light and airy. This can enhance the appearance of the room by giving it healthy, natural and rejuvenated feel. Charts on the particular group can be displayed. For example, charts on alcohol and its effect on the individual can be displayed, good and bad behaviors, effect of smoking, etc. This will help individuals to move forward in their counseling process. Rules and regulations of the group can also be displayed in the room so that once an individual joins the group and becomes a member, he or she should abide to the rules put by the facilitator. To conclude this session, counseling room setup is the least focus during the counseling process. The counseling room setup supplements to the counseling process by helping the client to focus, to get along with the process, to build rapport with the counselor, to bring positive change in the client, etc. Counseling room is a main aspect because it creates an impact in the counselee before meeting the counselor. Counseling as a process brings about a change in the counselee, and the room as a physical setting helps the counselee in preparing for the change that the counselor is intending to make in the counselee. So, it is important to recognize the physical setting of the counseling room as an important aspect for further changes in an individual.